Welcome to Megapath Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk about It, the movie. I had a chance to sneak off while my daughter was in school and check it out, and we're going to do this in two parts. Briefly, though, because I do want to go back possibly and watch the Blu-ray a few times and then maybe dissect this a little bit, because that's something I want to get into a little more, dissecting the horror movies, the horror genre, and then figuring out what works and what doesn't work for us as fans. But anyway, I want to talk a little bit spoiler-free, just briefly, though, because I don't want to keep rambling and then accidentally release any spoilers. So just spoiler-free, I think this is a movie I would highly recommend going to see. It does have its problems, though. And there was so much hype and praise going into this. I let my guard down and finally accepted it, which is always something you should not do, because I was underwhelmed, though, by the end of it. However, there's a lot going on here that is great, and we're going to get into what I didn't like and what kind of pulled me out of the movie in the spoiler section. But I would definitely recommend going and watching this. This is a movie that I'm going to watch again. I'm definitely going to buy on Blu-ray and get it in my collection. Watch some of the special features. I love those, and really interested in seeing their thought process and bringing this to life and seeing some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I hope they add a lot to that, because I'm really interested in that. So it's something I'm going to buy. It's something I'm going to watch again. It's something that I do highly recommend. It has its flaws. So, take hold of your expectations. Go in there with realistic expectations, and you should be absolutely fine. You should definitely, at the very least, enjoy it for what it is. Now, when it comes to some of the cons, again, staying spoiler-free, I'm going to have to say it's the CGI. CGI rips you out of the moment in certain instances. There's a couple of them, maybe one or two, where you could say the CGI was on purpose, the way it looked, because of the illusion that's portrayed. Because, if you know the old It movie, the clown lets you see things to get your fear at a max, and then he eats you because it's the fear that, I don't know, makes you taste good, or that's what he feeds off of. He feeds off of the fear. So some of these illusions aren't real, but, I mean, they turn pretty real, so it's blended. You'll have to see what I mean by going and watching the movie. You'll see what I'm saying. But it's that CGI that ripped me out of the moment. And there's also something towards the end that was a little underwhelming, but there might be an excuse for that or a reason for that. So pretty much spoiler-free. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm going to get it on Blu-ray, but it definitely has its flaws, clearly. And even the characters in the world, I still feel, because you can make a lot of comparisons to Stranger Things. Stranger Things purposefully took in some characteristics of the movies back in the day from, based off of books from Stephen King, some of the classics from the 80s, obviously, So you can make those comparisons, but on one hand, Stranger Things did something way better than it even came close to, and that was the characters. The characters, there's two or three that had a lot of development there. You like the characters, but the others, some of it just felt a little too try hard, and at the end of the day, there's only a fraction of the group that you got invested in and that you liked, But I blame that on them trying to ramp up the fear and the knowledge of this or this thing that's happening, because obviously these kids don't know about it, and then when you see them, they see the visions and the shit that's going on for the first time. So they're building that up more than they are building up the characters, and I do think that we need to adjust a little bit more. And the movie was definitely fun enough and enjoyable enough where we could have had an extra 20 minutes and then break that down to give each one just a little nugget more to strengthen the character and the connection between the audience and the characters. So, enough said, spoiler-free. Go watch it this weekend, and then put your thoughts and opinions down in that comment box. Now, if we could take a few minutes real quickly and talk some spoilers about what I didn't like and what ripped me out of the movie, and also what I did like. So here's your warning. We're talking about spoilers, so go check it out and then come back and watch the rest of this vid and leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment box. First off, the CGI is something that ripped me out of the moments, and that's because you're watching this thing, you know, and you're sucked into it, and you'll see something that's just odd, that looks like a video game almost, a really good video game, mind you, but it breaks that connection you have with the movie. I mean, they got you locked in, and then there's something, that oddity that your eye picks up, and it's not even something that you have to think about. It is instant. Right when your eye catches it, it's like, boom, that, I don't know, that illusion is just fractured. And that's one thing that I really hated about it, because it kept happening. And I heard that Pennywise the clown was a mixture of practical effects with CGI effects, and it's to the point where I felt like it was more CGI than practical, and it was to a point where it kept breaking that illusion. Game of Thrones is a TV show I watched recently that has a lot of CGI, and it didn't break that illusion. And that was a friggin' TV show, and it didn't even break that illusion in a lot of scenes. There was some scenes, obviously, where the illusion was broken. You would immediately notice, oh yeah. And there's scenes you're going to see, and you're like, that has to be CGI. She's flying a dragon. I mean, dragons are real. So you see what I'm saying? So, but it's so smooth in a lot of those shots where you didn't think about it till after you're watching the behind the scenes, and you're like, you know what, man, that could have been done practical, and they still did it CGI. You know, they blended practical with CGI, and I didn't even pick up on it. It kept me locked into the scene, into what's happening. Sadly, with it just didn't do it, and it broke it almost, I would say, 8 times out of 10. It just had that, you know, where it took you out of the moment. There was some stuff with the CGI, obviously, they would have to do that was added that wasn't in the original that I truly loved, which was the deadlights. The deadlights is something that they failed at doing in the original, but in this one, I really liked how they did that. Going along with that, and the deadlights is when its mouth comes out, it's got all these teeth, and it opens up, and it has the deadlights spinning on the inside. The lights on the inside spinning was a little bit weak, but that whole setup I really enjoyed. However, there's moments where the teeth come out, and it does break that illusion again, because it just has a certain look that just isn't polished enough, you know? I would have almost preferred, no bullshit, some different way, a practical way to do that, but you probably can't. I mean, the way they had it going and as fluid as it is. But anyway, so yeah, you have the CGI that is a real bummer. The other big letdown, though, and then I want to talk about a couple pros, and then I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. But the other letdown would be 2 of them. The kids, again, there's only a portion of the crowd that you really build a connection with, and they really built it up with the girl, the fat kid, and Billy. You know, the other ones, there was a lot of character stuff going on, especially the one with the germs. If you see them in the, well, whatever, you guys probably know who I'm talking about if you watch this. This is the spoiler section, but yeah, the kid with all the medicine, I think his name is Eddie. Yeah, Eddie, there was Eddie and Stan. I think those, they had a lot of cool foreshadowing. That's possible foreshadowing if they stick with the book when they, or the book in the old movie, when they come back for the next movie. Stan was the first one to walk away from the group at the very end. A little subtle possible foreshadowing that he's going to be one of the first ones to die in the next movie. I love those little hints that they put down. Stan was also the one that was traumatized because the creature bit his face. His most, you know, the thing that scares him the most freaked him out while he was separated from the group all alone, and then bit his face and almost devoured him, you know, face first. So that's traumatizing. That, I think, was done beautifully compared to, in the other one, Stan killed himself, and there was, I don't think they made that connection strong enough. Yeah, sure, he got scared. They all got scared. But this one instance with with Stan, it's like, now you fully understand. This is a guy he's completely traumatized even afterwards. So there's little bits and pieces they put in that's also an absolute positive. I don't want to get off track, but more positives keep popping up, like how they dropped the rhyme that Billy says. It's in the same, I think it's in the book too, but it's in the movie as well. Something about being on posts or something. I forget the rhyme, but it doesn't matter. They don't do it I don't know, they don't do it in your face and loud and repetitive. It's not that at all. It's subtle. He's almost whispering it when you first hear it. Then you hear Pennywise, I believe he whispers it a little bit too. So it's in there, but it's not just over the top spoon feeding. I really enjoy bits and pieces like that. How you can pinpoint what was from the book and from the original movie, but it's not done to where it is just overkill. Sorry, going back to the last bit of negatives. So the characters, yeah, that was a little bit of a letdown because you didn't really connect with all the cast. And I say it's a letdown because I think there's definitely room to add some to make you have a stronger connection with the characters. The one character that was the biggest disappointment would be, I believe it was Mike. He's the character that the actor also plays in Stranger Things, and Mike's character had some really good moments, but for the most part, it felt a little try hard. You know, you get this character who's loud and everything's a joke. You know, a lot of it felt organic. You know, kids talking shit, especially that age. You're curious and you are, you know, you over dramatize everything, even when you're goofing around and shit talking. But there was something about it though that was a tad try hard that just took me out of the moment. However, I will say that it was more good stuff than it was bad stuff with the characters. They're definitely enjoyable to watch as you watch the friendships blossom. I think they did that incredibly well too, because compared to the original, they had the fat boy running away, and then that's where they threw the rocks at him. But in this one, they cornered the kid who was taking the pork. I believe his name was Mike. They cornered him, and then that is where they started throwing the rocks. If you watch the old one and the new one, you know what I mean. I like how they mixed that up. It was two different things where he was cutting them. I think in original he only even got the knife pulled out on him. Did he start cutting? Yeah. But in this one he started cutting. So the other underwhelming moment is them defeating Pennywise. I thought they were going to give us some kind of hint or sign at something that could defeat this creature. Like, say anything. It could be silver or gas or something. I thought they were just going to give us some kind of sign. And they possibly could have. However, I was left a little confused as to what did it. Was it simply stabbing it? I thought this was a creature that, in my opinion, based off of the original, it was something where the creature had to have been hit by something it was allergic to, like for that creature, as weird and dumb and weak as that sounds, because this is a creature who's lived for such a long time. I feel like if you just stabbed it, someone else would have already done that already after all these years. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it was a little bit underwhelming, them fighting the creature. A lot had to do with the editing. It was that choppy bullshit that I can't stand that they do in movies, and I think it was horrible because you didn't know what was going on until all the kids were on the ground, and it was just, I hated that part. Anyway, yeah, even past that, it's still a little confusing, like, how did they defeat it and all this other shit? The reason I say there's probably an excuse for that is because this way they can come back around for the second part and show us and them. Yeah, that's why it felt easier the first time. You know what I mean? Because you didn't actually defeat them. Now, moving on to some pros, let's start out with the very beginning. And this is something I do want to make a video, and I'm going to write this down because this is a video I have a lot of heart and passion for. And it's the argument between, you know, how you show the violence. A lot of people, and this is true, less is more in a lot of moments, you know? Like where you see Georgie and he's sticking his hand down the drain. In the original, you just see the teeth and then they zoom in and they yell. You know, that does it, especially for a TV show, because it was a miniseries on TV first. Especially for a TV show, they didn't really have a lot of wiggle room there. Now, for the show, you can say that that was all too much. He bites his arm off and the kid's crawling in the water. That is just gut-wrenching and heartbreaking. However, I think it was absolutely necessary to show the terror. And it is different. And you could argue not showing it is more sometimes. They did this with Alien, the first Alien movie. You see less of it, but then later on when you see more, it's just not as impactful. And I do agree there's a good debate here that showing less works a lot sometimes, maybe most of the time. However, there's moments where you just need to show it. Like the Walking Dead TV show, I absolutely love it. However, there's a death in the season 7 episode 1 where you need to show every gory second of it to get the damn point across. That's not one of those scenes where you just pan the camera out and not show it. There's another part in that same season where a character, Michonne, that we love, who has some compassion, she kills a person, and I felt like they did the scene and the moment such a grave injustice by zooming out so far you could barely see what's going on. This is a horrific act that Michonne did. She killed someone who was unarmed and not a threat, not an immediate threat in that moment, and just shot her in the head. But because it was so far away and you barely seen it, you heard a little pop and then she slid seats. It just ruined the entire scene for me, in my opinion. And another one where they took the violence out of a Daryl character smashing someone's head. This is an intense moment where you should see the goriness, because it opens up your eyes to the truth of what he did. He beat this dude's head in, and it was because of the torment from watching his friends die in front of him the same way, and then being brought and locked up and tortured and fed dog food. You gotta see it. Just like in It, in the very beginning, you need to see it. You need to see the kid get his arm ripped off, and then he crawls away, as gut-wrenching as it is, and then he gets pulled back into the sewer. That shit is terrifying. Way more terrifying than zooming in on teeth. You know what I'm saying? And letting our imagination work for us. So that's something I do want to get in, a little video essay. Maybe I want to do later on. But for this movie, I love those aspects where they showed just enough of the gore and they didn't go overboard. As a matter of fact, I think that's probably one of the more gorier scenes, you know? There's still problems with jump scares. Hollywood just will not fucking stop when it comes to the jump scares. It's annoying, and it takes the viewers out of the experience. It doesn't, oh my god, you got me. It doesn't make us go, oh, that was fun. Like in the very beginning, there's a jump scare with a loud sound on the radio. That, again, in my opinion, everyone involved with putting that in there, that is the weakest moment, and it shows it's the most pathetic way to force a reaction out of the audience, and it annoys us and irritates us more than it makes us enjoy the moment. So every jump scare in It that was similar to that one, absolutely pathetic. And I think we're at the point now where we got to start saying, not making excuses and saying enough is enough. It's either like we need, as audience, we need to let Hollywood know that we see this as a, vile act against, our forms of entertainment. If you do any jump scare, you should be blacklisted. It needs to be that bad, because it's not going to stop unless we finally come out and say, enough with the jump scares. And then we're going to finally get some scenes that are truly packed with tension, instead of just having, ramp up some of the sound, get the orchestra playing just right, and then, have some stupid fucking noise blaring out. Anyway, so yeah, with It, I do wanna watch it again, because a lot of the moments is real quick, and I'm on the fence about whether I like that or I find that it's cheap. There's moments I really liked it, where Pennywise did something and it was a fast movement, and it was like they sped up the camera even, and there was some moments I enjoyed when they did that. However, I would say, 7 out of 10 times they did it, just as an average, like 70% of the time they did it, I felt like it was being cheap. Like they were being cheap and not doing their best to fill the scene with tension. Instead, it's let's be loud, let's be fast, and push in on the scary clown towards the camera. When you watch it, count it. When you watch it again, count it. It seems like that's their safety net. Loud, fast, zoom in, clown towards the camera. We're always going to do that, and whoop-de-whoop. However, I do think this is a lot better than what I was expecting originally. When I heard they were going to remake It, I thought, oh man, this is going to be a shit show. And it is a lot better than I expected. I mean, a ton. However, it still is not up to par with what we should be getting. This is 2017. Our entertainment nowadays, there's no excuses for these big productions. If there's a lot of heart and passion, there's just no excuses for these big productions. Yes, some of the acting was really on point from the kids. Some scenes did not work. They had this moment with Stan specifically in the middle of the street. Just didn't work. They should have did another retake of that. I can't even believe that made it into the theaters. And there's a couple little small moments like that where I can't believe that scene made it into the final, or that take of that scene made it into the final version. But there's also moments that are done really well. The girl had some moments that were done really well. Billy, the kid, did not, I don't know, it's weird. He didn't have this charisma right away, but he definitely grows on you as a lead. He's not really the type I would have imagined them picking for Billy, but he definitely did work. There was scenes that absolutely worked. I think the show stealer for the kids is probably the little fatso. He did great. I think he did great. He had some of the better scenes, and the more you felt bad for him and Billy probably the most. And then there's those creepy moments that were just gross. They didn't go overboard with the daughter and her father, but I really was hoping he would get a vicious death more than what he got. But I mean, something vicious. Let the clown get him. Anyway, lots of good stuff. I'm probably missing a ton that were Easter eggs from the movie or the book, or a ton of other things we can talk about. So I do want to go back and rewatch it and see what's going on. But what did we cover? We covered the good. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, as far as the roles, the actor playing, what's his name? Bill Skarsgård? Is that? I've never heard of this actor before. I know he's in either a movie or show, and he's a name that is coming up now. A name I haven't heard of, but I think he did a fantastic job. I mean, he had to take over a role that's been iconic now in the horror fan base. Iconic for 20 years now, 20 plus years, 25 or 27 years, something like that. 27 years this character has been a horror icon, this Pennywise. Tim Curry did a fabulous job with the first one, and with this character, with the suit and everything, he fits into the whole movie. There was some scenes in the trailer where it was a little iffy, but when you see the whole movie together, I'm still not sold on his outfit. I still think there's better outfits out there. There's definitely could have been a better outfit, a better face design. I am still not 100% sold on it. I think it works, hell yeah, and I think his performance works, hell yeah. But I think the look of it visually, I don't think it is as good as it could be, in all honesty. However, it works as a whole, and it's definitely a lot better than what I was expecting us to get. So I say go get it, go buy it even. This is probably going to stay as one of the best It movies. I doubt they're going to remake it anytime soon. They probably shouldn't, leave it as it is. In 20 years, though, they can remake it, or every 27 years, they might as well just keep bringing Pennywise back and rebooting it. I mean, why not, it's meta that way. Anyway, yeah, I liked it. Go watch it. And now you let me know down in that comment box, what did you think about the It movie, the remake? I liked it. I'm giving it like a 7 out of 10 just for a bullshit rating system. I think it's a little trickier using, numbers as a rating scale compared to just saying your enjoyment level. I think the enjoyment level is the best way to go ahead and rate it. But yeah, around a 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. I do think they did a fantastic job. However, I don't think it is as good as it should have been. All right, thoughts and opinions in the comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn. Wait, let me shut this down.